Hey guys, Sage Valentine here, and this is my review of The Walking Dead Season 5, Episode number 2. This episode, for me, was excellent. Season 5 is turning into my new favorite season, and I don't know, the way that I loved Season 2 is turning into the way that I'm loving Season 5. So, here goes nothing. I'm glad that Bob was able to say goodbye to the group before he died. He was able to get closure. He was able to kind of kiss Sasha, one last time. It was a beautiful, heartfelt scene, because usually when it's one of the group and they die, it's a violent scene, and for the most part, you really don't get this heartfelt goodbye without the person suffering, and Bob really didn't suffer. Really, not that much, considering that he had the bite on his shoulder and his leg was missing. But let's get right on to the Terminites, who were stupid enough to think that by eating his meat after he called himself tainted meat from being bitten by a walker, that they could get the zombie virus. No, it's already in you. They don't know that, but it's already in you. So when you die, you basically turn. I think they should have figured that out, but God only knows. My thing, though, was Gareth. How, as a character, Gareth thought that he was doing some type of good public service, and he was doing what he had to do, and he basically told Rick before Rick and the group killed him and the other Terminites that, basically, you have the face of someone who doesn't know what it's like to be hungry. You don't know what it's like to scavenge. In other words, he's basically saying that Rick and the group, for the most part, they've gone through a lot, but really they don't know what it's like to struggle, because they've had one another. They have people in the group who know how to do this and do that. They have lucked up on the prison. They lucked up on this. They lucked up on the church. They've never really had to suffer. So I'm seeing that as an omen to the group suffering after this episode. Pretty bad. So the cool thing about that whole death sequence, besides the blood flying everywhere and people getting stabbed and hit in the head and all that stuff, which normally it gets to me, but we're talking about the Terminites here, and they were not the nicest people in the world, so they kind of had it coming. Their deaths were the only deaths that I was actually about time here this week. But anywho, Abraham, before I get to Abraham, I'm so glad Michonne got her knife back. I felt completely nervous watching her walk around with just that gun. Not that she can't handle herself without the gun, but with that katana, she's powerful and she's a badass and nothing can touch her, and I'm so glad they brought it back. But let's get over to Abraham. Now, Abraham and this whole thing with Eugene, I'm so glad Rick was just he let them go in the end, because all that they seemed to be doing was dragging down the group. More so, in fact, it was just Abraham dragging down the group, and you could tell that Rosita's just going along for the ride. Eugene really didn't want to leave, but Abraham kind of coerced him, let's go, Abraham, let's go, Eugene, let's leave. So the crazy part about the scene when they were about to leave, because Rick was listen, we cannot leave here without Daryl and Carol. We got to make sure at least that they come back, that they're okay. We don't want to split up the group, especially not with what happened in season 4. So Abraham came up with this idea of taking Maggie and Glenn with him, and Eugene and Rosita, and I'm just listen, the group has been split up already. What is with this splitting up thing? All Abraham had to do was just wait, but he couldn't wait. And Maggie and Glenn sadly went with him and everything. And I know Rick really wanted to, he seemed like he just wanted to tell him, just wait a little bit longer, one more day, and then we'll go. But they all left. And it's not, to me right now, this is me saying this, it's not looking good for Maggie and Glenn not being with the group. Not that they can't handle themselves, but it depends upon what they come across. And at least as a unit with this big group, they can fight. But as they break off into little parts, I don't like it, which basically goes to show you that I did not like season 4.2, because the group was by themselves. When they were all together, I felt safer with them, or I felt that they were safer. I'm putting myself into this group. So anyway, okay. So we find out that Father Gabriel basically made a really heartbreaking choice of not helping a group of people that gathered outside of the church while he had it locked and had all this food in there. And he refused to open the doors because he was scared. And who could blame him, considering everything that the group has gone through and who they've come across and even the secondary characters that you've seen. And we still, to this day, haven't really, addressed that whole thing in season 4 when I can't remember who it was walking in the forest, and there was like a whole camp out there. Then all of a sudden they come back and the camp is dead. And I'm not thinking that it was Joe and those other guys. I think that was somebody else entirely who did that. We haven't addressed that. So the father's been carrying that burden around with himself, and I don't blame him for not helping the people. Like, as I said, you don't know who you're going to come across within this zombie apocalypse. There's a lot of crazy people, and the people literally are scarier than the walkers, which is crazy because there are less people than walkers. But that ending when Michonne smiled at Daryl because Daryl was in the bush or whatever, and he told somebody else to come out. I can't wait to find out who that was. I'm speculating. I'm wondering if that was Beth, was that Carol, or was that a group of people, maybe 3 or 4 people? I don't know, because he said come on out. He didn't say you come on out, so it could be plural. But the last thing I'm going to discuss, and then I'm ending this video, is what the group doesn't know, because they didn't make it to the school where Gareth and the Terminites were, is that that school is chock full of walkers, and eventually those walkers are going to come popping out. Now, my question is for this part of the season, and maybe you guys can answer this for me. How long do you think it's going to take before that glass breaks and those walkers come out? More so, will the group come across those walkers soon? Are we going to see it next episode? Are we going to see it before the mid-season finale? All I know is that it's about a couple thousand within that school to the point where they're pushing up against that glass. I just want to know. Maybe you guys can, let me know, leave it in the comments. But anyway, thank you guys so much for tuning in. Sage Valentine, love you all. Twitter, Google+. Don't forget to rate this video and subscribe, and let me know what you're thinking of the season so far, because this is my fave right now. So until next time, you all take care. I love you guys. Bye, guys. Bye.